Hello everyone, myself Shweta Mannikeri, working as Assistant Professor in Computer Science Department in Government First Grade College, Bangapet. Operating System is a syllabus for BCA third semester for Bangalore North University. This is session 9. Today we will discuss about there are 3 more CPU scheduling algorithms. In that we will study round robin CPU scheduling algorithm, multi-level queue scheduling algorithm and multi-level feedback queue scheduling algorithm. Let us learn one by one in detail today class. Round robin algorithm is one of the simplest algorithm. In this, each process gets a small unit of CPU time. It is also called as a time quantum and it is represented with Q, usually between 10 to 100 milliseconds. After this time has elapsed, the process is preempted and added to the end of the ready queue. Means each process given a small unit of CPU time. Once that process finishes its CPU time, it will be forcefully preempted from the CPU and given chance to execute another process. Like that it will go on in a cyclic way. Performance of a round robin algorithm: Q large if it is first in first out fashion. If it is small, may hit the context switch wall. Q must be large with respect to context switch, otherwise overhead is too high in this case. For example, if two processes P1 and P2, each process given a CPU time as 3 milliseconds. Once the process P1 given chance to execute by the CPU, once it finishes its CPU time 3 milliseconds, it will be forcefully preempted from the CPU and given chance to process P2. Like that it will, in a cyclic way, it will be given. It's like a round robin fashion. Let us understand this round robin with an example. There are 5 processes P2, P3, P4, P1 and P5. Their arrival time may be for P2 at 0 milliseconds, P3 3 milliseconds, P4 5 milliseconds and P1 10 milliseconds and P5 will be 12 milliseconds. Their CPU time or execution time may be for P2 12 milliseconds, for P3 8 milliseconds, for P4 4 milliseconds, P1 10 milliseconds and P5 6. For each process we are giving the quantum time as or CPU time as 5 milliseconds. Once the process finishes within 5 milliseconds, it will be preempted and given chance to process another process. For example, here process P2 arrived first. We are considering into first in first out fashion. P2, its CPU burst time is 12 milliseconds, but according to the round robin algorithm, each process will be given a time slice as 5. If it finishes within that 5 milliseconds, given chance to next. If it will not be finished within that CPU time, it will be forcefully preempted and given chance to another process. For example, here P2 has a 12 milliseconds as the CPU time, but time slice will be 5 milliseconds. After 5 milliseconds, it will be forcefully preempted and given chance to P3, but it has very 8 milliseconds of CPU time. Once it finishes after 10 milliseconds, P4 will be given chance. After that P1. After that P5. Like that it will be in a round robin fashion. Time calculation and total waiting time for all the processes will comes to 91 milliseconds and average waiting time for all the process will be 91 millisecond divided by 5 equal to 18.2 milliseconds. What are the advantages of round robin algorithm means? There is a fairness since every process gets equal share of CPU. No one will get more or less. Each process will get equal share, equal time quantum. The newly created process is added to the end of the ready queue, and round robin scheduler generally employs time sharing, giving each job a time slot or quantum. It's exactly similar to time sharing operating system. While performance a round robin scheduling, a particular time quantum is allotted to different jobs. Each process gets a chance to reschedule after a particular quantum time in this scheduling. What are the disadvantages of round robin algorithm means? There is larger waiting time and response time. Most of the time each process should wait for a longer period of time, and the response from the system is also very long. There is low throughput. Number of process per unit time will be very less. There is context switches. Gantt chart seems to come to be very big. Time consuming scheduling for small quantum. Smaller CPU time process should wait for a longer time. That is, these are the disadvantages of a round robin algorithm. Another very important CPU scheduling algorithm is multi-level queue scheduling. According to this, there are more than one queues, and it is not an independent scheduling algorithm. They make use of other existing algorithm to group and schedule jobs with common characteristics. Whichever jobs have a common characteristic will be solved according to multi-level queue scheduling. Multiple queues are maintained for processes with common characteristics. Each queue can have its own scheduling algorithm. Each queue can have its own scheduling, it may have first come first serve, it may have shortest job first or shortest job remaining first, or round robin fashion. And each priorities are assigned to each queue. It may be a lower priority or higher priority. For example, CPU bound jobs can be scheduled in one queue, and all input output requesting jobs will be in another queue. The process scheduler then alternately selects jobs from each queue and assigns them to the CPU based on the algorithm assigned to the queue. Here we are differentiating CPU bound jobs, the jobs which need CPU execution, that will be scheduled in one queue, and the jobs which needs any input output devices, that will be in another queue. The process scheduler, what it will do, it selects the jobs from each queue and assigns them to the CPU based on the algorithm assigned to the queue. How it will be have functionality means, ready queue is partitioned into separate queue like a foreground, interactive and background jobs will be processed based on batch. Each queue has its own scheduling algorithm. Foreground may have round robin, background may have first come first serve CPU scheduling. Scheduling must be done between the queues, and fixed priority scheduling. Serve all from foreground then from background. Possibility of starvation. Each queue gets a certain amount of CPU time which it can schedule amongst its processes. 80% to foreground in round robin fashion and 20% to background in first come first serve. It is a combination of 2 or 3 CPU scheduling algorithms. This is how shown in this diagram. System processes in one queue, interactive processes in another, interactive editing processes, batch processes and student processes. they are differentiating. They are assigned from lowest to highest priority. What are the advantages of multi-level queue scheduling means the processes are permanently assigned to the queue, so it has advantages of low scheduling overhead. The overhead with the scheduling is very less in multi-level queue scheduling. What are the disadvantages means some process may starve for CPU if some higher priority queues are never becoming empty, and it is inflexible in nature. There is one more very important CPU scheduling algorithm, that is multi-level feedback queue. How it will works means multi-level feedback queue scheduling allows a process to move between queues. The idea is to separate processes with different CPU burst characteristic. If a process uses too much CPU time, it will be moved to a lower priority queue. Similarly, a process that waits too long in a lower priority queue may be moved to higher priority queue. Here there is a process moves between the queues from lower priority to higher priority, from higher priority to lower priority. Multi-level feedback queue scheduler defined by the following parameters: number of queues, scheduling algorithm for each queue. Each queue will have a different scheduling. It may be a round robin, first come first serve, or shortest job first. Method used to determine when to upgrade a process, when to upgrade or move to higher priority. Method is used to determine when to demote a process. Method used to determine which queue a process will enter when that process needs service. Depends on this, multi-level feedback queue will be served. This is how, let us quantum equal to 8 for Q0. Quantum, each time slice will be 16. First come first serve. Let us know this with an example. There are 3 queues. Q0 with the Q0 queue will be served with a round robin, and it has a time quantum 8 milliseconds. Q1 round robin time quantum with 16 milliseconds, and Q2 will be another queue that will be served with first come first serve fashion. How it will be scheduled means a new job enters queue not first, which is served with round robin fashion. When it gains CPU, job receives 8 millisecond quantum to execute. If it does not finish in 8 milliseconds, that job is moved to Q1. Later at Q1, job is again served with round robin fashion, and it receives 16 additional milliseconds. If it still does not complete, it is preempted and moved to Q2. In the last queue, the processes are served with first come first serve. This is the Q0. Whenever the process enters Q0, it has 8 milliseconds and it will be served. If it will not finish within the 8 milliseconds, the process will be moved to Q1. That will be served with 16 additional milliseconds. If it will not finish in that case, it will be forcefully preempted and put it into another queue, Q2, and it will be served with first come first serve fashion. What are the advantages of multi-level feedback queue means? It is more flexible compared to other multi-level queue and round robin queue. It allows different processes to move between different queues. It prevents starvation by moving a process that waits too long for lower priority queue to the higher priority queue. This is the main advantage of multi-level feedback queue. What are the disadvantages means? For the selection of the best scheduler, it requires some other means to select the values. It produces more CPU overheads compared to other scheduling, and it is most complex algorithm compared to round robin, first come first serve, multi-level feedback, multi-level queue. This multi-level feedback queue is more complex algorithm and implementation is difficult. Let us have a recap whatever we studied for today's session. Today we understand about round robin scheduling algorithm. In round robin scheduling algorithm, each process will be given a time slice or CPU time to execute, multi-level queue scheduling algorithm and multi-level feedback queue scheduling algorithm. These are the references you can go through. Thank you. Thank you DCA for giving me this opportunity.